All right, are we on? Hi, welcome to the Bard Student Life Webcast. My name's Jake. I'll be your moderator tonight, and I'm a junior at Bard. I'm a bio and math major. I'm a tour guide. I tutor different classes at Bard, and I also co-run the Bard Math Circle, which is a math enrichment program for middle school students. But I'm going to ask my friends here to introduce themselves. Want to start?
I'm Elias. I'm a freshman here at Bard. I play lacrosse, and I am currently pursuing the 3-2 engineering program. I'm doing computer science here and engineering at Columbia.
Hi, I'm Evan. I'm a sophomore here at Bard. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and I'm a literature and written arts major. I also work on event staff, which is kind of through the student activities office. We go to a lot of the events on campus, and I write for the Bard Free Press, which is our newspaper, and I'm also on the Bard Paper staff, which is one of our literary magazines.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm an Australian. I'm a junior. I'm currently studying literature. I'm very much into theatre and film at Bard, and also into extracurricular sports and clubs.
All right. So whoever is connecting to us right now, please feel free to ask questions throughout our talk today. But since we don't have any questions yet, I guess we can all start with like a little bit about why we came to Bard. I mean, we can go in the other direction this time if you want to start.
Sure. So a big part of my college experience was learning about American colleges. The liberal arts college is a big switch up from a large-scale university where you get a vocational degree. I like the idea of 4 years of just learning about learning how to think, right? But why Bard? Bard has a fantastic theatre program. Bard always has more activities going on than any other campus. I've talked to friends who go to other campuses around the States, and Bard's just always more interactive, it seems. There's always more going on. People are very passionate about what they do, and that just that inspired me.
The reason I came to Bard is because being from Los Angeles, I knew I really wanted a change for the 4 years of college, so I wanted a smaller school and I wanted somewhere on the East Coast. And I also liked the fact that my plan is to live in the city after graduation, and so I figured since a lot of the professors live in the city and commute up here, and there are a lot of just jobs in the city for after college, I figured it would be good to go to a place in New York, and Bard just checked a lot of the boxes I was looking for being an English major.
So what really drew me in was the engineering program that I mentioned before. I wanted to study engineering, but I didn't really want to give up the whole liberal arts education. So Bard just kind of was the best of both. And I came here, and what we were saying before is that Bard's a really diverse place. You can find your niche almost anywhere, and I found mine.
Great. I came to Bard for a lot of reasons, but I think one of the main reasons is that basically what you want to look at when you're looking at a college campus is how is student life, but also is how academics are structured at the college, and look at the courses they require you to take. And Bard has these 5 programs, and you can go onto our website and read all about them, or you can ask questions and we'll answer them today. But there's the Language and Thinking program, first year seminar, moderation, citizen science, and senior project. I said those out of order. But especially senior projects, which is a year-long intensive project in whatever major you're studying that everyone's required to do. You basically write a book. That's what really drew me here. I always wanted to do science research, and I'm required to graduate. But it looks like we have a question, which is, are there things to do off campus as well? Do any of you guys live off campus?
No, but last night I was off campus. As a junior, I have several of my friends, or as Australians say, mates, who are off campus. And it's very easy to get off campus. There's a shuttle that does a loop from South Campus to North Campus to Tivoli, which is a local town, and then it loops back around the South Campus and Red Hook, which is another local town.
And we're about 15 minutes from Kingston. You can get the shuttle to the city. You can get a train to the city either from Rhinecliff or Poughkeepsie. The one from Poughkeepsie is only $17, so it's not too bad. But there's a pretty decent student community in Tivoli and Red Hook. I mean, you agree with that, right? Yeah. So when you're an upperclassman, you can either live off campus or live on campus. And while everything's kind of centered around being on campus, I think.
And there's also a lot of shuttles, like there's a shuttle to Kingston, like you mentioned, where you can go to the mall. Red Hook has a grocery store and lots of cute little places to eat. And also, even some of like the art history courses, for example, they'll shuttle you to the train stations, and then you can take a train down to the city and go to some of the museums in the city to kind of like supplement what you're learning up here at Bard.
All right. So we have more questions. Great. So one is, do you have any experience in the science department? And then the other one is, do you ever feel isolated, bored, closed off from society while staying at Bard? I think we should go with that one first because it's the scarier of the two questions. So I don't, personally. There's a really kind of vibrant on-campus community of 2,000 students. There's always something going on. You can get to these big urban centers like New York. Like, we are in the woods but not isolated, is what I used to like to say. But you guys can probably speak to this as well.
As a literature major, can I just say I like being slightly in the woods, especially on a sunny day like this. You can probably see the glare coming off my face. It's beautiful just to sit outside and read a book. And a large part of college is learning, and books are a great resource for that. And so there is a lot of time, but that's part of what college is about.
Also, in my experience, I've found that since we have such a diverse student body, we have people from different countries, international students, and we have a lot of students who do come here from larger cities. And so I think the blending of all those different perspectives and experiences makes Bard feel much larger than it actually is student body-wise, because we are on a beautiful acreage, 600 acres of land, but the student body is small. But at the same time, I think because so many people are so passionate about so many different things, you never feel bored because of the people that you're surrounded with.
Yeah, and I think our natural environment is an asset, not something to hold back. We have an outdoors club that goes to the Catskills every week. We have miles of trails along the Hudson. It's beautiful.
Great rock climbing.
Yeah. All right.
Just on that, today is just a fantastic example of a day. I finished up classes. I went and played rugby out on the field. I'm doing this, and after this I'm going to go to one of my professors is reading part of their book, which is going to be great fun. And then after that, there's a discussion on theoretical mathematics. I'm not a math major, but I'm going to pop by and see what it's about. There's always something going on. And also, yeah, I'm working on a film project. So
a quick question about what are the rules about cars. You're allowed to have a car, and about a third of students do. That was easy. So there's a question about whether our atmosphere is collaborative or competitive.
That's a good question.
I mean, do you want to answer that? Because you just got here, so maybe.
From the year that I've been here, I haven't really felt any competitiveness. Like, everyone's there to support you, and in my classes at least, I'm doing computer science, so there's a lot of like relaying ideas off each other and working with like just building off each other. And there's nothing like, I've heard horror stories of pages missing from textbook and all of that, and that has no place at Bard.
Sounds like you like that question.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I would just say that, like, I definitely came from a high school that I feel like was a little bit more competitive than Bard is, and I think that just, like, coming from that experience and having just students and peers who are genuinely, like, excited to hear your ideas in class, and just having people really root for you, even though we're all kind of pursuing the same things to a certain degree, I think it's, like, really nice, and it just helps the overall vibe of the school.
I mean, to give an example, before this and after this, I'm going to study for my test in advanced evolution. So all 10 people in the class are getting together and going through every single slide, every single lecture note, but we're helping each other and explaining to each other as the process of studying, and the whole class is meeting together, and it's not this, I want to try to do better than you at this test. It's everyone's trying to figure it out together. And because you can sometimes collaborate on things like homeworks, it allows, in like a department like math, sometimes the professors will step up the difficulty of the work because they know you're going to be working in groups of 6 rather than in groups of 1. Anyone else have anything to add? So let's see. Someone want to talk about living options? That's pretty straightforward. Tour guides can probably talk about that.
I'll talk about it. So your freshman year, your living options are a little bit more limited. You kind of get this randomized housing and roommate based on the form that you submit about your preferences about music and cleanliness and things like that. So your freshman year, you'll end up in a double or a single room. However, sophomore year and forward, you can choose to live in a single, or you can choose to live off campus, and you can choose your roommate. So we have a lot of students who live off campus in the towns of Tivoli and Red Hook. Those are the main centers of off-campus student living, but also we have a lot of different dorm options on campus. We have larger dorms that house around 90 students, and we have a dorm as small as 7 students. So there are a lot of different options, and sophomore year forward, you have a little bit more control over the type of living arrangement you have.
And we should note that when we say a lot of students live off campus, we mean 20%, so 80% of students still live on campus. So there's 80% live on campus, 20 off. So while that feels like a lot of people, there's still a big on-campus community.
Can I check in my 2 cents?
Yes.
When you do initially apply and you fill out the form, sometimes it doesn't work out. I have to say BARD system is actually rather good. But if it doesn't, you just go down to Res Life, fill out some more paperwork, and then you're just sweet to go.
All right. So, I think, so school spirit, does anyone want to talk about school spirit? You're on sports, so that would make sense.
So, I don't know about years before, but there's been definitely an increasing school spirit here. Starting with the basketball team, there would be like giveaway, and we made these bird gang shirts for the student section, and I think 100 were given away for the basketball games, which got a bunch of people there, and everyone was wearing them. And then our first home game for lacrosse was on like our actual field. There's some delay due to the weather, but it was last weekend, and there were more people than were at any of my high school games, and it's growing. It's definitely very exciting.
All right. I guess we can do some generalized questions. Does anyone want to talk about clubs and sports? I think we can all talk about them.
Yeah, I'll jump off. I play rugby at BARD. There's a rugby team here that's a club sport. Other club sports are varsity, equestrian, ultimate frisbee. On top of that, BARD encourages pretty much any club you can come up with. At one point in time, we had a Quidditch club on campus. We still have all the equipment for that. Yeah, it is a very vivid scene. Over 200 clubs on campus. My joke walking backwards is we have enough clubs that there's a club that makes posters for other clubs.
We've also got a circus that'll teach you to throw fire and breathe fire. That's my favorite example. It scares all the parents. Yeah. You guys are involved in clubs as well. I think you said talk about publications.
Yeah, I can speak to some of the publications on campus. We have a newspaper which is printed and distributed monthly called the BARD Free Press, and you can actually view it online, and all the content is posted. If you just Google BARD Free Press, like, you'll find the website. But it's just like the publications are very student driven. We basically print whatever we want to print within reason, but that's most things. And I also work on BARD Papers, which is more of like a magazine type publication, and we just filter through the different submissions of both BARD faculty and BARD students, and we just put what we think is most representative of BARD now into the book. And so it's very collaborative, not competitive once again, and we are really open to a lot of different opinions and experiences in the publications here.
And we have about 12 publications.
Yeah.
Along that.
Yeah.
You're involved in sports. I don't know how much time you have for anything else, but
I do a lot of studying other than sports. I haven't really gotten involved in clubs yet, which I'm a little bit upset about. But I've heard of a lot of good ones. A lot of my friends who also do sports are in clubs. Yeah.
So in addition to clubs, we have TLS on campus. And so I'm trying to talk about TLS because that's what I do. But so I run the BARD Math Circle with Eliana, who's another tour guide actually, and we do math enrichment for middle school students all over the Hudson Valley. But TLS is this program that actually allows you to create kind of a tiny NGO, and they get rid of any bureaucracy in your way, and they give you funding, and they give you vans, and they give you training in public speaking and community organizing. And it's a great program. A lot of students are involved in these programs. So check out the Trustee Leader Scholar Program, TLS, if you're interested in that. I guess we can move on. Most common major on campus is Bio now. Bio
Really?
overtook lit last year.
Yeah.
Wow.
But bio and lit. So, but yeah, bio majors. Are professors accessible outside of class?
Yeah.
Definitely.
I just met with one on the way over here.
And for example, I'm going to dinner at my professor's house in 2 weeks, so they're definitely open to sharing their personal space and getting to know you outside of class.
So average class size is 17. They're gonna know you. You're gonna know them. First name basis with all their students.
Which is also great for connections as well, to be known.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. What do we want to do next? So we answered. So, you can design your own major. That's something you can actually start talking about when you get here. But there is a process for that. Has anyone done foreign language or study abroad? I haven't personally, so.
I'm going to study abroad, so I can talk about the process leading up to that. I'm actually studying abroad this next semester in the fall. But the process, we have a study abroad advisor, and so basically you kind of have to apply to BARD to apply to get permission to study abroad. So they'll look over your grades and they'll talk to your advisor about it. And then once you get that approval, you can go forward with the actual application process. And basically, it's just about tying all the loose ends, making sure that you forward your mail to wherever you're going, or you tell Res Life that you won't be taking up a room that semester, and things like that. But BARD is very, very helpful. There are a lot of different resources, and one of the more popular study abroad options here is to go to BARD in Berlin. We actually have a BARD campus in Berlin, Germany, and you can go there as a freshman or a junior, actually. So you can go there for 1 or 2 semesters of your freshman year, which is called Begin in Berlin. But also you can go in the more traditional sense during your junior year. But also BARD allows you to study abroad wherever you'd like, even if it's not a BARD-affiliated program.
And just another thing about BARD in Berlin, basically if you can make a case for it, you can usually do it here. I have a friend who's spending her last 2 years in Berlin.
Oh,
She
wow.
just convinced her professors that she should be able to do that. And she did. Do you want to talk about the accelerated language programs? You're probably just as qualified as I am to say what they are.
What will happen is one semester we have a series of accelerated language programs. I know we have it in Spanish, definitely in German. Japanese is coming along, but it doesn't exist yet, and
French and Italian.
and Italian.
Yeah.
And what happens is you'll study for an entire semester, 5 days a week. Jump up, go to class, have an intense hour. There's usually a quiz at the end of each week, keeps you on your toes. And then after a semester of doing that, you'll find yourself at a BARD-affiliated campus somewhere in the world, depending on what your language is. For Spanish, you either go to Costa Rica or you go to Spain, and you'll spend time there over the intersession, summer or winter, depending on which semester you take the language. And then you'll come back and you're accredited 8 credits because you've done not only the language course, but also immersed yourself within the language.
Yeah. There's also the German is actually double intensive. So there's people taking German, so 12 credits worth of German and 1 other class, and then going there, and they're earning, I think, 20 credits worth of German in a semester, which is 5 semesters worth. So that's insane. Someone's bothering about the science department. They asked the question before, and I skipped over it. I love the science department here. It's worth it almost coming on a tour just to see our facilities and to talk to some professors here. Small class sizes, you get to talk with your professors, you get to start doing research almost the second you get here if you want to do it. So it's very easy to start doing research here. We have professors active in research, but they don't have graduate students to help them. So it's very easy to start doing research. We have a semester that you can spend down in the city at Rockefeller University, which is one of the best research universities in the country, doing research there. So that's an amazing program to have. If you have a certain GPA, they automatically let you into that. And then they have a interview process that you also have to go through. So it's not quite automatic, but yeah, it's a lot of opportunities for research. I've done research with professors here, and then obviously senior project is required research as well. Computer science is science as well, isn't it?
Like you said, it's small courses or small classes, great courses. All the teachers are really engaged in what they do. they all, I don't think there's research going on this year, but they all have projects that they work on and it's easy to get involved.
So yeah, when I wanted to start doing research, I just emailed my advisor, and he forwarded my email to the entire department, which was terrifying, but it worked. All right. If someone feels inspired, they can answer this, but this is always a scary question. So, if you could change one thing about Bard, what would it be? I don't want to act like we're shying away from the hard questions.
This is kind of superficial, but I honestly think the only thing I would change about Bard is the architecture of the library. And the reason I say that is because one half of it is very traditional old school architecture and the other half of it is very modern, so it's a bit of an eyesore. But the interior is what matters in a library. You can still get your work done. There are plenty of desks and books for research, so it literally would just be the way the library looks from the outside.
I don't know, do you have a good one prepared?
Yeah, as a lit major, I like language to be efficient and precise. And there's a lot of jargon just rumbling around campus. There's a lot of, I'm trying to think like Dio Nuave, change, perception, all those, I don't know. There's
Transcendental film.
Yeah, and also lots of economy, homage. And it's not a big thing, honestly. Not much.
So we have a lot of questions now. I've received acceptance. All right. So if you have received acceptance from Bard and you want to know what to do next, you should go to the website to our accepted students page. But we're not going to talk about that right now, but go to our website. How do you join a club? You go to a meeting. I don't think it's that much more complicated.
Yeah, we have a club fair in September, and so all the clubs basically set up around campus on these tables that are everywhere, and you basically go towards what you're interested in, and you talk to the people running the club, put your email address and your name on a sign-up sheet, and then they'll contact you with the meeting time, and you just go to the first meeting, and you're pretty much involved from then on.
And I've just been reminded that our enrollment form for accepted students is online. So if you are an accepted student interested in enrolling, you should enroll. And congratulations! Yeah, excited to see you next year. All right. Acapella groups. Do any of us know anything about the Orca Pelicans or want to talk about them?
Well, there's several groups, but the Orca Pelicans are most definitely the most famous. Not just for the play on words, but also they're on YouTube and have won several awards, I believe. On top of that, there's the chamber singers. We have another style of a cappella group, kind of like Glee, but they have a different name. And also there is a musical review show that happens. Get together, sing the top hits of several musicals and string it together.
I guess that's a decent segue into kind of theater and dance at Bard. I mean, we have the old gym, which is a black box theater space completely run by students. It's not affiliated with theater or dance. And there's shows there almost like every week. There's something going on.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, and it's not even only used for theater productions, but I've seen like studio art installations done in there. So it's really, like you said, student driven, and there's a lot of creativity that goes on there.
And our performing arts center, our actual performing arts center, was built by Frank Gehry. So it's this giant, beautiful building.
And it's on a lot of the materials you probably have seen.
Yeah, I think it's worth coming here just to see that building. Yeah. All right. So there's a question about describing your typical student, and then they describe a Bates student. I mean, I'm not sure all Bates students act like that, but do you guys want to stereotype some Bard students, or
I don't think there is a Bard student stereotype. I think that's an impossible question to answer, just because I think what makes Bard special is that everybody here is so different, and we all, like I've said before, come from really different experiences and places. So I don't know. I think that Bard has various different types of people.
I mean, We have 20% international. You're international.
I'm international. There's a lot of international kids here. The campus, as I said before, is very vibrant. And 2,000 is not a lot, considering how big some other American universities can be, but it never feels small.
So we have a student athlete question again. So what challenges can a student athlete encounter? Do you want to say?
Well, for lacrosse at least, this season has been a little bit rough. It took a while for the snow to completely melt, and so our first game was, as I said, last weekend. So we've been playing across the river, like 20 minutes away in Kingston on a turf field. But hopefully that'll be gone next year, whereas there's talk of getting our field turfed when the baseball field gets finally put in this summer, I think, is when it's finished.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll be gone, and that's the only thing I think of right now.
Yeah, I mean, our facilities have been expanding for sports. I guess you came in this year, but like 2 years ago, there was a huge expansion on the gym.
Yeah.
Our sports teams have been growing, so I think it's probably just like growing pains in the program is maybe a problem. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully we're over them.
Yeah.
It seems like it right now.
Yeah. So there's another. There's a question about balancing, I guess, extracurriculars and studying. I think we can all talk about that if someone wants to jump in there.
Well, I'll start. I think honestly, like time management and being organized is really important in college and life in general, but especially at Bard because there is so much to do that like you're gonna want to participate in so many different things. So I would just recommend like scheduling your time very seriously, even signing up for classes. I think people know what they can handle on a person-to-person basis, and then just going forward, just making sure that you don't overcommit yourself, because I think that that's easy to do when you have a lot of options, but just to keep everything in perspective, give yourself some downtime, give yourself to enjoy the college experience as well, and usually you get the hang of it pretty soon into college, I feel like.
Yeah, as someone on the other side of that, I do crazy amounts of extracurricular. What I like to say is that the professors are also very interactive, and so sometimes when I'm doing a theater piece or when I'm doing a movie shoot and I have less time for homework, then I need to truly polish something off, ace that paper or study for that test. I can talk to a professor and they're willing to be lenient, and it's rather nice to talk to people about that.
How's it been adjusting to the workload of freshman year?
It takes a second to get used to it, but one great thing that I've noticed is I personally haven't taken advantage of it, but there's a 2-week add drops part. So if you are really excited about a class and get into it, and then you just realize that you can't take 5 classes or something, you have 2 weeks to decide that you can step back and maybe take it next semester, or just kind of feel it out and see what you need to do. Or if you are taking 4 classes and one's really easy, so you add another one, it's possible.
And our tutoring center is huge on campus, so you can go to a writing tutor for anything from a really important academic essay to drop-in hours where you can go in and bring a letter to your grandma and they'll edit it for you. But we, especially in the sciences and maths, but also in other fields, we have tutors attached to classes, both writing tutors and content tutors, sometimes all the way up through the 300 level. I'm tutoring 5 classes right now, 4 in the bio department, 1 in the math department. It's a lot of fun. I get paid to do it. Bard students don't have to pay. So if you take a class, it's a good job. And so there's a lot of help, and it's not necessarily remedial, but you can always get that extra help and push if you need it. Least popular majors, I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know if we have a least. There might be some that are have less students. I don't know what they would be. I'm sorry. Community service opportunities. So I was talking about TLS before. Again, that's all community service at Bard is student driven. You go to TL's office and start a project. Are you guys in TLS?
Yeah. Oh, I'm a part of the TLS project called Building Up Hudson, and so basically Building Up Hudson just goes to this kind of after school center in Hudson, New York, which is about 30 minutes from our campus. and we usually go on Fridays and just help them do homework after school or answer any questions they have. I helped a girl kind of polish off her college application personal essay. So just whatever they need help with, we can go out into the community and help them with through that TLS project.
Right. And there's a whole bunch of these.
Yeah.
They're all over the place. Some of them are down in New Orleans and Nicaragua and on the West Bank and all over the world. And then there's like, I think both of our projects are pretty local, which is a lot of fun. All right. Favorite thing about Bard? Someone want to answer that? You guys, you can just go around and say your favorite thing.
Okay, yeah.
I'd like to say the passion again, the fact that people are passionate and driven here. So to give an example, last Friday I wrote a script. My friend read the script, agreed to direct it. We got the equipment from the camera, we got the camera from the film department, and we've got it all set up for editing afterwards, and we've just cast it. So hopefully by next week we're going to have a completed film.
Awesome.
I think my favorite thing about Bard is like the well-roundedness in the students, because I really feel like everybody here is interested in more than one thing, and I think everybody's very open to learning about new things, and I just think it's great to be in an environment where you learn as much from your peers as you do from your professors, and I definitely feel like that's my favorite part about Bard.
My favorite part about Bard is Blackwood on a nice sunny day. There's everyone out there, and really you can walk up to anyone and you'll never have a boring conversation. Bard students are always engaging and ready to talk about just about anything.
And for reference, Blythewood is a giant like mansion on campus that houses our economics institute and has like this giant like wonderful view of the Hudson. Bard students hang out there. My favorite thing about Bard is that the classes are so small, but also the relationships that I have with all of my professors here. Kind of how close-knit the family, like the math and science department are, and kind of the relationships you can build with professors, especially by the time you've reached your third year here. It's a lot of fun. All right. So I talked about tutoring just now. I think that question's pretty similar. So guys, just so you know, if you have questions about applying and what you need to do to get into Bard, I recommend you go to our website and also or call us during office hours, which is I think is 8:30 or 9 to 5. Then talk to an admissions counselor. We're tour guides. We can't really answer these questions too well. All right. So. Can you still work towards graduation requirements while abroad? You're expected to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're getting some repeat questions. So do you have to take a foreign language placement test? No.
No.
But I think there's some, have any of you done the thing where you like talk to a professor if you want to place into a class?
I haven't done that, but I know about that. You want to talk about that, should I?
You can talk about it if you know about it, because I don't really.
So people have taken languages previous to coming to Bard, maybe in your family, maybe at school, maybe you're an international student. And basically, if you have a level of language which you think is a decent fluency, you're able to interact and hold a conversation. In that case, you can go to a professor and then have that said conversation. And if that's the case, you can get a placement into a higher class. So an example of this is one of my friends was from Latin America. We're doing lit together. He, of course, knows Spanish fairly well coming from Latin America. And so he went into a Latin American modern novelist class without having to take it in translation.
Right.
I think that's kind of all across the board, though, not just languages. I placed out of Calc 1 and went straight to Calc 2, and you can kind of do it in just about any field.
Yeah. And there's a math placement exam as well in the beginning that everyone takes too. As far as the core requirements, does anyone know all of the distribution requirements off the top of their head?
One for every program and then another one for performance art and studio art.
Yeah, there's analysis of art, practicing art, social studies, humanities, science, math.
And language.
And language?
Yeah, and you can take the language in translation or you can take a foreign language.
Right.
Yeah. And then, like I was saying, there's also those 5 programs that we're not going to get into depth with because we could talk about them forever, but language and thinking. We can go around and explain each one. If you
Oh, you want to do the 5 quadrants?
Yeah, you can start with L&T.
L&T, language and thinking, big thing about college, acronyms, L&T, language and thinking. You come here over August, it's beautiful, it's sunny, it's a little humid. And what happens is the 500 students of freshman year approximately, the way it was pitched to me is it's your senior year, your freshman year. All the doors are open, quite a lot of the professors are on campus, and it's just your opportunity to explore. You learn to think like a Bard student, write like a Bard student, discuss like a Bard student, talk like a Bard student. You basically become a Bard student. It's amalgamating everyone to the level of work that's expected of you, and the style and thought process that is encompassed in Bard's educational program.
Also, I'm going to go a little bit out of order, but I'll speak to moderation.
Oh, because you probably just did moderation.
Yeah, well, I'm going through that now, but moderation takes place during the spring semester of your sophomore year, or in some cases the fall semester of your junior year. And basically it's a process by which the school moderates you into your major, and they want you to put more thought into it than just checking off a box on a sheet of paper and turning that in. So what you do is you write two-page papers. Your first 2-page paper is a paper about your academic past. So you talk about the classes you've taken at Bard that have inspired you to become this major, all the different things that have led to you wanting to declare whatever it is as your major. And then the second paper is about your academic future, and you write about what you plan to do with your major, what you plan to write your senior project on, and things like that. So they really just want you to give a little bit more thought to declaring a major than most other schools ask you to do.
Since you're doing first year seminar and you probably just did citizen science, do you want to briefly talk about those?
So, yeah, I'll just kind of cover the whole freshman thing. As you said, L&T everyone is just getting into Bard, so you are all in the same place. You have campus to yourself for 3 weeks. Everyone's gets to know each other. Then citizen science is kind of the same thing. You do 3 courses. You start with, I started with computer at least, and you just kind of do some computer modeling, you do some data stuff, and then you go to the lab, and then the final one is just a discussion.
Classroom discussion.
And so you just kind of dip your toes in the water, get a feel of a whole bunch of different things. It can be we bring in teachers from all over the place who are all working in their fields. So mine was a neuroscientist, and it was very different from some of my friends, but they're all great. FISM is an English class, but again, it's taught from people from just about any field. To become tenured, a teacher has to teach at least 2 classes. So I've taken the more philosophy-based teachers, so I haven't been quite as extreme, but I know a kid who's taking it with a foreign language teacher, and he's loving it. It's a completely different class than what I'm doing, so you can really find what you want and kind of relate it back to what you're studying.
Now I'll talk very briefly about senior project, because I just submitted my proposal, which is really exciting. So someone also asked about double majoring at Bard, so I'll cover that at the same time, because that applies to me as well. So everyone does a senior project at Bard. You can double major at Bard, which means doing 2 senior projects, one your junior year and one your senior year generally, or you can be a joint major where you do 1 integrated project, which is what I want to do in biomathematics. But it's a year-long project. You work closely with a faculty member who you meet with every week. You're expected to spend as much time as you would in class and on a 300 level class on your project at a minimum every week. So it's just a tremendous amount of work going to these projects, and people really pour their heart and souls into them. The seniors right now, they're doing 2 weeks. They all look very stressed, but also kind of strangely happy. And so you really get this chance in your senior year to make this incredible body of work. And that's one of the reasons I chose Bard. All right, so how is the diversity of students, not in terms of ethnicity per se, but in terms of background, interests, etc.? We've briefly covered this, but if someone would like to reiterate.
As coming from Australia, there's always a lot happening on campus. In terms of international students, there's the International Students Organization, ISO. We have a show twice a semester, maybe 3 times a semester. I think it's getting more and more popular. But never a dull moment. People, I mean, we're a pretty good example here. People are always at far range and close to home as it can come.
Do you do theater?
I do theater. I'm in theater. I was going to be a playwright, but
Just someone's asking about the theater department. They want to know what it's like.
so they've just renovated the theater department, not the building, but the actual program itself. It used to be very much based on taking acting courses with the steps of how to act. Currently, there is a little bit more theory being introduced into the program, and then as the courses continue, there are just classes where you act. My freshman year, I took the actor and the director, or something along those lines, and there was a Joanne Akalitis, famous New York director, came up. Once a week, we'd have a 3-hour class, and there was a series of directors and a series of actors, and you come in and you just workshop a scene, workshop a scene, workshop a scene. And then that's one style. Now they've also introduced on that theory, Stanislavski, all those other kind of theoretical styles of how to act and interact with an audience. It's good.
Has anyone done anything with the Bard Farm?
No, but I can say that the Bard Farm, I think twice a year, has like kind of like a picnic in a way, and so we have people or students who volunteer on campus that make food and like grill burgers, and they use lettuce that we've grown in the Bard Farm, or they put like tomatoes on the burgers that we've grown in the Bard Farm, and so you like pay real money to like kind of give back to the Bard Farm itself, but they use actual ingredients, and also our dining establishments on campus use some of the things that we grow at the Bard Farm as well, so we're really involved with that.
And just to give some context, the Bard Farm, about 2 years ago, students started a fundraising campaign to actually build a farm on campus, and they did it, and the college matched their funds, and there's a farm with a full-time farmer who's hired on campus, makes thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds of produce every year. You can work there all summer if you'd like. I have friends who have. It's
Also, we have a cranberry bog.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah. We also got we're having a mushroom farm now too, with shiitake mushrooms. They just got seeded logs. So a lot of cool Bard produce going on. Someone want to talk about the gym? Definitely the least athletic of us. So.
What's the question?
How is the exercise gym at Bard? They just want to know, do you like the gym?
I love the gym, I guess. I spent probably a little bit too much time there, but the weight room was just redone, I think, this last year. So there's a bunch of treadmills, there's a bunch of ellipticals, and then right upstairs, there's a yoga room, and then right upstairs is a weight room. You can find anything you need, really. The locker rooms are great. It's a gym. This is what I've been in.
Also, there are classes offered free of charge to everybody in the Bard community that go on every day of the week. So we have yoga classes, water aerobics, Zumba, different things like that that are taught by various people. And so that's another option of exercising. If you don't want to like run on a treadmill, you can take one of those involved classes.
And our soccer fields have this beautiful view of the Catskill Mountains as well. So you're written arts and lit.
Yeah.
And someone's asking what the best parts of the literature and written arts programs are. So that kind of.
Okay. I think the best part about the literature program is that it's more kind of like interdisciplinary than like I feel like most programs are, and I say that because I've taken lit courses where I feel like the professor has really infused a lot of the history surrounding when the book was written into our discussion of the literature. I feel like I get an understanding of a lot of different cultures through the books that we read. So I feel like it's not just straight up reading books and writing papers. I feel like I get a lot of different kind of other aspects of like the world and history and culture and language in my lit classes as well. So that's my favorite part about the lit program. And in terms of written arts, the workshops that the written arts program offers are really wonderful, and I really think they stretch you in different ways. I'm currently in a fiction workshop, and it's just great to get the feedback and to see how many different writing styles are in one classroom. They usually keep the workshops to about 12 people, but to see all those different writing styles and see how like people can bounce ideas off of each other, all in the name of kind of like bettering our writing, is really kind of like inspirational and great.
I mean, I also took a workshop freshman year, and I mean the structure of the idea of a workshop where you bring in a piece of writing and then you give it to the class and they talk about it. Well, you can't really say anything about it, and like it's the scariest thing in the world, but it was also like incredible.
Yeah.
Also, we have a very good range of writers. I had my creative writing course today, and we were critiquing one of my friends, Mel's piece, and she wrote it in Spanglish, coming in and out of Spanish and English, and it was brilliant. It was very Gino Diaz, but with a very own twist to it.
We also had Juno Diaz come and speak last semester.
Yeah.
We've also had Joyce Carlotz come and speak, and Carson. Neil Gaiman teaches here. Art Spiegelman spoke here last week. Really amazing authors coming and talking here. Neil Gaiman's on the faculty. Really exciting. So I guess a few of you guys can answer this. Was it hard to move away from home? What did you deal with doing that?
I'm pretty close, so.
Well, being from Los Angeles, I definitely got a lot of questions and concerns about like the shift in weather, because we have summer pretty much all year round, which is lovely, but I think it is nice to see the changing of the seasons, and that's probably one of the biggest adjustments I had to make, just even down to like buying snow boots, which aren't even sold in Los Angeles pretty much. So just kind of like figuring out how to dress appropriately for whatever type of weather was one of the biggest adjustments I had to make. And also just, I think that one of the harder adjustments for me as an older sibling was kind of being away from seeing my siblings grow up, and they're in high school and middle school now. So I think that's something that I definitely had to get used to. But if you just make the conscious decision to keep in touch with your family and to stay in the loop in that way, I think you kind of get the best of both worlds, because it is nice to be on your own, but also to still feel connected.
You came halfway across the world. So.
I came halfway across the world. It's nice. I've been an expat for a bit, so I was kind of used to living away from home. I would have to say that Bard is rather accommodating because it is such a strange place. There are French students here, there are students from Hong Kong, there are students from pretty much every corner of the world. We have a crazy number of countries.
Bhutan. One of my best friends from Bhutan.
El Salvador.
Yeah.
The list goes on. We cover 100 and something countries in all states but North Dakota, I think. Anyone from North Dakota, please come change that. But because of that, you never think about home, you think about here.
Here is home. So.
Yeah, I live pretty close, and an hour away door to door, and I never really think about going home. I was forced to go back last weekend because of a family dinner, but other than that, I stay here as often as I can.
I'm also a local kid. I actually live closer than you. I'm 40 minutes away. I went home for Passover on Monday. But I mean, how often do you, like, no one goes home that often. You want to stay here. It's what's going on. Does someone want to talk about their typical day? They're asking about typical schedule for students. We could probably go through a day. That'd be fun.
Sure. So wake up, brush my teeth, wash my face, the essentials, you know. And then I usually have between 2 or 3 classes a day. So depending on, we usually take 4 courses a semester. So I have 2 classes on 2 days and 3 classes on the other 2 days. I don't have classes on Fridays, but I usually go to classes with a break in between, maybe get some lunch. I work in admissions as a tour guide, so maybe I'll come in to give a tour like I do on Wednesdays, and on Fridays I work in the office here, so I'm answering phones and responding to emails. Then I'll grab dinner with some friends or maybe by myself, do some homework, and maybe get a late night snack at Down the Road Cafe to fuel me through the rest of my homework. And I don't know, I mean, the days change day to day, but that's pretty traditional, I feel like, just going to class and passing by people and eating. Yeah, and so I'm sure that some athletes would have a practice, but yeah.
All right.
That's generally my day too.
Yeah, I think the only thing that differs is once you get to Thursday or Friday night, you might end the day at Smog or Root Cellar, which are two of the many music venues in the area, and kind of go see your friends play in a band or something like that. So
Yeah.
so there's a question about campus jobs. We're all here because they do pay us for this.
But
Sorry.
that's not what we're doing it.
But that's
We
not what
actually
we're doing.
want to
We
talk
just love
about
Bard. But so I mean, like I was saying, you can tutor, you can be something like a tour guide, you can be a desk, you can monitor study spaces, you can monitor the computer labs, you can work at the Fisher Center. I've worked as like an assistant for a faculty secretary.
Yeah, campus jobs, you can just drive around. People need to go places, and so Bard hires anyone with a car pretty much to do that, the local taxi service.
And also campus jobs, you can do them as work study or not. So we have two different options in that way. And another job on campus is working on event staff, which is my other job. And basically we go to events on weekend nights and just make sure that everything's running smoothly, that the event hosts show up, and that nothing too out of the ordinary is happening. So you can get paid to go to parties pretty much.
Yeah. There's a lot of jobs on campus.
Yeah, the
And there's-
opportunities are endless.
There's a web page on our career development office. They just have a web page with this giant list of jobs, and you just kind of click through and say, "Oh, this looks interesting. I'm gonna apply to that." And it's not too hard. Yeah.
Plus, there's random jobs that come up once in a blue moon, which are brilliant. One of my friends, Leo, engineering, but he's in the physics department, and he got a job with his advisor. Everyone has an advisor. His advisor started a project to try and make a more efficient compost over winter that would keep heat, and I think it's actually going to be used at the Bard farm if it gets going. But he's currently got a pretty sweet gig working. This is Leo, my friend, working with his advisor on this project, which is not only part of his major, but he's also getting paid for it.
All right. So there's a lot of questions that are repeats. I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys came in late. We're not going to repeat questions. We're not too redundant. The film program is wonderful here. Are there any people who have experienced? You said you were talking about the film program a little bit.
Yeah, great films. We did production, we have no live feedback. So I'm going to talk about two things. I'm going to talk about production, and I'm going to talk about screening, film theory. Recently, we found a whole bunch of 16 millimeter Alfred Hitchcock films. We just found a whole bunch of stuff in the archive. And so for the last month and a bit, there's been a new Hitchcock movie every Tuesday. I'm currently going to a series of screenings on von Stromberg. Very cool. Lots of very moral issues happening. In addition to that, the film department uses 16 millimeter film for its production. If you're taking a production course, you use 16 millimeter film. There's a bunch of classes where you film various objects and have different mission statements for what you're going to record by the end of the semester. And on top of that, there's film editing and sound and all these other bits and bobs. The department is very interactive and open.
Okay. So I've just been reminded, if you came in late and I just was very meanly said that we wouldn't repeat questions, I don't know if that's a word actually, but this is all recorded, so that was just recorded, and so you can come back and look at what you might have missed if you came in late to the session. But there's a student who seemed worried that they might fail the language thinking program. If you show up to class, if you do good work, you're going to pass. It's not graded. Don't worry too much. Don't worry about getting all prepared for it. You're not going to fail language and thinking. There's people there to help you through. They have tutors there. Your professors can be very helpful. We're not trying to break you before you start college. I mean,
Bard. I feel like Bard doesn't even accept students who would fail LNT. So once you're here, you're pretty much set to go, and it's just a matter of making sure you show up and are ready to discuss and think. So yeah, that's definitely shouldn't be a worry.
LNT is hard because you make it hard because you want to learn what they're learning. It's not hard because someone's trying to fail you. Right? Yeah. Do we have any rivalries? I don't know about any rivalries. Maybe you guys.
Vassar.
Yeah, a little bit with Vassar. It's building more, I guess.
All right.
I think it's just because of proximity.
Yeah, we had some buses go to the basketball game over the winter, and some students came to our lacrosse game. So, I guess it's happening. I don't really know.
Fun fact, Vassar was the team that last beat our Quidditch team.
All right. Sorry, I'm trying to sift through questions. All right. Someone's talking about Q-level courses. I think that this person was confusing. Does someone want to talk about the dorms a little bit and how they're set up? I don't think we've talked about that yet, have we?
Not really.
Not really. The dorms, pretty much every dorm except for one has a kitchen, so that's something great that if it's really snowy outside or if you just feel like having a home-cooked meal, you can cook in your dorm. The dorms also have laundry rooms, and there are many different sized dorms, but for the most part, I would say that every dorm has a different personality, more or less. So, and once you're here long enough, you'll kind of get the vibe of what dorm seems to fit your lifestyle more. But that's, I think the bathrooms stay pretty clean for college bathrooms. The rooms are generally spacious. I haven't heard too many complaints about the dorms here.
All right. So we've got about 4 minutes left. So unfortunately, we don't have forever to talk to everyone. But I like this question, what is your favorite place on campus? So I think we should all kind of close by going around and answering that. I mean, I can start. My favorite place has grown to be, and this is kind of depressing, but it's the upstairs in the science building. There's these study spaces called the pods, and they're right outside all the professors' offices. So I do all my work there. I'm there like 8 hours a day at least. Not necessarily just doing work, but also in class and extra stuff. And my professors just kind of come out and will say hi, and I'll like get interrupted by, I'll be doing work and a professor will like distract me from my work because they want to like have a conversation, which is kind of counterintuitive, but really awesome. So that's my favorite spot.
Not necessarily my favorite spot, but a really fun thing that kind of happened during L&T is there are 2 caves and a waterfall hidden around campus. So it was pretty fun searching for that. Everyone was like, didn't really know where they were, and I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, so good luck finding them.
Blackwood Mansion was mentioned before, but I really think that Blackwood has to be my favorite place, especially now that it's getting warmer. It's just so wonderful to like watch the sunset on the Hudson River with the Catskill Mountains in the background, and to just be around such like a historic mansion on campus.
Last year I lived on North Campus, the other side from Blackwood, and there is another mansion there. The campus is made up of 2 previous estates, and the other mansion's quite nice, but right outside they have the bunny ears, aka Stargon, which is this really cool interactive sculpture which just points up into the sky. On a sunny day, light's reflecting off that, and it's just open fields and a little bit of woodlands to give you a feel of as if you're in the middle of the woods.
So all wonderful places, and there's so many more on campus. We're just about done. We've got about 2 minutes, but I think we're not going to run over. But we would just like to say that if you are a prospective student, if you're an accepted student, please come. We really want to see you here next year. But if you're a prospective student, we really encourage you to come for a tour. I know we talked to you about Bard, but it's not real until you're here. And we go in so much more in depth when we can talk to you and not see like a little gray camera. So this is a little weird for us, probably less than it is for you. So you should definitely come for our tour. Our tours are these kind of really in-depth walking tours. You really get to connect with the tour guide. You can call us. You can go online. So 9 in the morning till 5 p.m. You can call us with any questions you want. We encourage you to do so. And thank you for tuning in. All right. Any last words?
Coming to Bard.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.